I'll finish that thought, Mum, that I was just having in voice, because I like to. To which you might say, I thought you had already finished. And to which I might say, come on, Mum, I'm never finished. All right, so yes, I have been thinking about, look, it really doesn't matter what I'm thinking about. I've got nothing to say, but, that's the best thing to say, I think, sometimes. Because there's so many people out there with something to say, and they keep saying it. Better, I think, to have nothing to say and say that, it shakes it up a little bit anyway. So I was talking to Lauren, actually, on the way into the city before, and she was listening to a little app that tests her ability to pick out notes. I'm looking for perfect pitch, that sort of thing. So it gives her a chord and she has to pick the notes. It might be a major chord, ding, ding, ding. And then, C, and then it goes to the next one, it might be a C minor, and then a C minor seventh, and so on and so forth. And I was playing the game with her. And so one thing led to another, and we were chatting about all sorts of things, even Liz Truss and Boris Johnson and all that sort of stuff. That'd be a turn up for the books, she said, if Boris Johnson got back in. And I said, yeah, that'd be doing a Kevin Rudd. It's funny to think there's a whole generation of kids that, for whom things like Gillard and Rudd and all that sort of stuff is ancient history. Alex, he's been going around because Greta Thunberg, her, for Alex, she's old, she's that generation, that older generation, and he's latched onto her too, and he keeps going around, how dare you? There are squirrels dying, he says, no matter what you're asking, Squirrels are dying and you're asking me to make my bed. How dare you? All that sort of thing. Anyway, so Lauren and I were talking about music, as we do. And I said, I got a C for music in VCE in year 12. See if you can beat that. She just had this look on her face. C? That sounds a lot like an F. But anyway, I was saying, I was listening to Beethoven, an analysis of Beethoven and how many musical ideas, were in that piece, which is just that one. Low battery, even my phone's telling me. And I said, there might be 400 profound ideas in a piece like that. And the bloke who's telling me, the very rude man, as he is, he's a very rude man. I really like him, who's telling me, he's a musicologist, and he's telling me about this Beethoven piece and all that sort of stuff. And just listen to this. He gets so excited, it goes from a B to an F major 7th, and right there, that's the Parthenon. That's the aqueducts. That's Beethoven, These are monuments, all right. And I said, it's a funny thing, because a lot of music I like and a lot of things I like to play, they might have, Beethoven might have 400 profound ideas piled into one of his pieces. And I said, most of the music I like and like to play and all that sort of stuff, most of it has maybe one idea in it, depending on the piece. I just quickly thought, and one of the chords that she was trying to pick, and I got it wrong, and she got it right, and it was a fourth, and I mispicked it. And I said, all right, that one, fourth. All right, I know a song that's just got fourths in it, and that's the one musical idea in the whole song. And I went for, there's quite a few of those. And there's, Take the Ribbon from Your Hair, and Father and Son, and the one I picked was You Too. All I Want Is You. And I said, that one's just got one musical idea. And it's just fourths. It's just as a D major, and D major, and then you just click on and off with your little finger, and there's your fourth. Then you go to A and just click on and off and off, on and off, and there's your fourth. You know, so D, A, D, A, D, A. Just chuck a fourth in every. Over and over and over. And she said, "What, for the entire song?" And I said, "For the entire song." And I said, "And yet I like it." Well, you know, I wouldn't put it on because I've heard it too many times, but I like it. And it's easy to play. And anyway, there's a big difference there. And now, you know, people might say that all different types of music are equally valid. You know, if I like rock and roll and she likes opera or whatever, you know, that's just a preference thing. You know, one's not better than the other per se. And that's true. What you like is what you like. However, there are differences, you know, because one of them has more musical ideas in it than another one. To which you might say, "So what?" And to which I might say, "Well, true." Like if I'm in the jungle, in a pot, you know, and the blokes there who've captured me have got the big sticks going, you know, like the, I was going to say pangolin, but what's it called? A peloton, whatever it is. Anyway, they're carrying me through the jungle, and I'm in the pot, and you know, and there's real atmosphere in that. You know, you're just about to be cooked up for dinner, and I don't want Mozart's 40th playing when I'm in that atmosphere, you know. That's not right. I want I don't want a lot, you know. I want something simple to go with. You know, I want to get the most out of this experience, you know, and getting carried through the jungle. Anyway, and I'm dinner tonight, you know. So, you know, that music, the tom-toms, probably better than the Mozart thing in that moment. But here's the thing, that's not to say there's equivalence from what I've heard, you know, between the Mozart thing and the tom-tom thing, or some of my favourite music, the rock and roll, you know, a bit of Little Richard or something, you know, which is really all Little Richard songs. You know, he's in 12-bar hell, that guy, right now. He died a couple of years ago. He's been sent to 12-bar hell because that's all he did all his life, just did 12 bars. Okay, so you might say, well, I like rap, and you know, and you, Damien, you like rock and roll, and someone else likes classical music or whatever. It's, you know, they're all equally valid as musical forms and all that sort of stuff. Maybe not. Because I was listening to Jordan Peterson a while back, and he was one of Daniel's favourites. Daniel was switched on to him. I've listened to very little Jordan Peterson, just stuff people have sent to me of him. Nicole likes him, Daniel liked him, yeah, that's about it that I've heard of. And they send me stuff, and Cassie, she sends me stuff from Jordan Peterson as well. So probably those three guys have sent me stuff, and I, you know, give it a bit of a listen, but I wouldn't go looking for it. But he argued, you know, shades of Cameron talking about the brain, he argued that if you're listening to, let's say, a classical music piece, a good one, you know, something that Mozart might have written or Beethoven or whatever, that is just making parts of your brain glow. You know, maybe not the progressive, you know, humanist parts of your brain, but other parts of your brain that get lit up by complex and profound music. Now, I think that Jordan Peterson would argue, and he knows a lot more about the brain than I do, and that let's say you just listen to tom-toms all your life. Those parts of your brain that a Mozart symphony or something would light up never get lit up ever. And he would argue that those parts of your brain shrink. Okay, but the parts of your brain that get excited by tom-toms, that part of your brain would grow physically. Now, I find that very interesting because, I reckon before I heard this sort of heresy, before I first heard of this sort of thinking, I would have said that if I just neglected to light up certain parts of my brain for a couple of years, that would have been no big deal. Let's say, my political aptitude part of my brain, the part of my brain that might make me good at politics. I'm not good at politics, but if to the extent that I know anything about politics, or am good, not if I know anything about politics, but am I good at thinking about politics? You don't have to know something, but can you even enter into thinking about the thing? All right. Now, I would have thought that I could just forget about politics for a couple of years, or mathematics, or anything really. Anything, whatever turns you on. Tom-tom listening, classical music listening, rock and roll listening, anything. But here's what happens. If you're just listening to rock and roll all your life, which I have done most of my life, the part of my brain that gets activated by listening to something more complex than rock and roll would shrink. And that's a disaster for me, in a way, because I think, oh, wow. So I thought if I just ditched thinking about mathematics for about 10 years, no big deal. No big deal. I've got a bit of that stuff in my memory. And I'll just draw that out and start thinking about mathematics and all that sort of stuff again. It'll all come back. I can have a clever thought about mathematics. All right, I might well be able to learn recall all the formulas I knew, or half of them anyway, on a good day. Okay, so I haven't lost much there. I've remembered, radius of a circle is 2 pi r. But that was a joke. But have I shrunk the part of my brain that allows me to think about mathematics, not remember maths formulas, not knowledge, my ability to think about maths? See, I would have assumed that if I just neglected to think about, mathematics or philosophy, or absolutely anything actually, biology, it really doesn't matter, anything, okay? If I just neglected to think about that thing for a couple of years, 10 years or so, I could jump back in and be just as clever, as I was 10 years ago. But Jordan Peterson would argue no. He would argue that you've actually shrunk the part of your brain that gives you powers to think about mathematics by neglecting it for so long, So, this would be something to do with being clever. Now, there's lots of different ways of being clever, and I'm pretty stupid in a lot of ways. There's no worries about that. But there's different parts of your brain. All right, so, this is my ability to be clever about X. X is something. Religion, all right? My ability to be a real bright spark when thinking about religion, theology, and all that sort of stuff. Now, if I just say that's a load of hogwash, theology, not going to get into it, there's nothing to it, I'm just not going to think about it for 20 years. After 20 years has gone by, would it not be true that my ability to think about theology, which is a very important part of the human condition, just as much as science is and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, if I just concentrated on straight science, would my ability to think about theology be diminished? And that's a very worrying thought, you know, because a lot of things I've neglected to think about for many years. And for those things, which might be at different spots in my brain, have those parts of my brain shrunk? You know, obviously there's some positives to be had here, because other parts of my brain, I have been exercising, but have I accidentally shrunk some parts of my brain under the, under the false sort of misapprehension? No, it wouldn't be a false, under a very real misapprehension, that I can just jump back in on that anytime and I'll be just as smart as I ever was. But maybe not. That's all. I could go on. Not with a bayonet through your neck, is what Nicole would say just there.